All right, so let's graph whatever we learn and apply to this problem. So we're gonna use we want to find any local maximum or local minimum value and the interval where the function is increasing or decreasing. Okay, so in order to do this, we're gonna apply the first derivative test. To determine whether the function is increasing or decreasing, we need to see whether the function is the derivative is positive or negative on that interval. And then from that, we're gonna find out whether it's a max or mean. So pretty very general, right? And common question for calculus, we want to find local max and local mean. So the first step, we're gonna check the derivative. So f prime of x will be what? What is the derivative of this? Will be in 12x square minus, plus 6x minus 6. Okay, so when you have the derivative, we're gonna have to find the critical value. Find critical value or CV. Okay, so to find CV, we just set f prime of x equal to 0, just like what you learned in class. So it's gonna be 12x squared plus 6x minus 6 equals 0. And then how do we do from that? We're gonna you either factor or you either use quadratic formula. So I'm gonna simplify by dividing everything by 6 first, and we have 2x squared. 2x squared plus x minus 1 equals to 0. Okay, if you could factor, then factor. If you want to use quadratic formula, then use quadratic formula. So this problem is like it's factorable, so I'm gonna factor. So 2x times x, uh, and we're gonna consider what number will be go in here. We have the factor of 1, right? So negative 1. So negative 1 will be negative 1 times 1. So which one will be go to which? I need the middle value to be positive x. So I'm gonna do positive 1 minus 1. And we're gonna check. This is negative x and this is 2x. So that will give you 2x minus x is x, which is good. So we're gonna have 2x minus 1 and x plus 1. So 2x minus 1 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. So we have x equal 1 half or x equal negative 1. Okay, so we have two critical value. Now let's see, we're gonna use these two critical value and see and apply the first derivative test. So put the critical value. So this type of problem is pretty similar with the one that we do the moving left or right. Okay, so we first finding the derivative, set them equal to 0 to find out what the critical value is and put into the number line. So we have negative 1 and 1 half here. Now we're gonna pick some value on the left in these three interval, right? So you pick some in here, some here, and some here. So I'm gonna pick x equal negative 2, and we want to see, oh, what is f prime of negative 2? F prime of negative 2 is 12 negative 2 squared plus 6 times negative 2 minus 6, and that will give you positive or negative. We will have 12 times negative 2 squared minus 6 times 2 minus 6, and that's going to be 30, so it's positive. Positive. And then f prime the number in between that, we're gonna use 0. F prime of 0 will be 12 times 0 squared plus 6 times 0 minus 6, which is negative 6. So the one in the middle is negative. So one, the one, this is positive, this is negative. The next one, because this is polynomial, so it's most likely will be positive. So let's see. So we're gonna choose x equal 1. So f prime of 1 will be 12 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 minus 6, and that gives you 12, which is positive. Okay, so when you have positive, negative, positive, the one that is a car moving on the line, then you're gonna have this move to right, left, and right. But in this problem, they want to find a relative max or min of the graph. Then all you need to do is this one is increasing, this one decreasing, and this one increasing. So when you draw the arrow like this, because it's a plus, so arrow up, negative will be arrow down, and then plus arrow up. So when the derivative changing the sign from positive to negative, you have the relative maximum. So I'm going to have a maximum at x equal -1. And from negative to positive, you're going to have a minimum as x equal 1/2. Okay, so that's going to answer your question for the problem. So you're going to have a relative max at x equal -1, and f of -1 will be, what is the f of -1? So this term you're going to put into this function right here. So you will have f of -1 will be 4 times -1 cubed plus 3 times -1 squared minus 6 times -1 plus 1. And that will give you what? -4 plus 3 plus 6 plus 1. So it's going to be 6. So the maximum value of that function will be at -1 and 6. So now how about the minimum? Relative mean at x equal 1/2, and y gonna be f of 1/2, which is what is f of 1/2 in this case? So I'm not gonna use the mental math anymore. I'm gonna put in my calculator to evaluate that. 1/2 plus 1. So we will have 4 times 1/2 to the power 3 plus 3 times 1/2 to the power 2 minus 6 times 1/2 and then plus 1. This is going to give you -0.75, or if you're doing the fraction, you're going to have -3/4. So I'm going to have -3/4. So the negative relative maximum will occur at -1, and the maximum value will be 6. The relative mean will occur at x equal 1/2, and the minimum value will be -3/4. Now about the increasing and decreasing interval, right? Because the problem is still asking you for increasing and decreasing. So all we have to do is increasing on the interval. By looking at the arrow, we will be able to tell whether increase or decrease. Increase on -infinity to -1 and 1/2 to 1, right? No, 1/2 to infinity, not 1/2 to 1. Because you increasing on this interval, the arrow increase from this part and the arrow increase from that part. So that's why we have an increasing on this interval and this interval. Now you're going to have decreasing on -1 to 1/2. Okay, so with the first derivative test, it's going to be helping you to find what? Now where is the relative max, where's the relative mean, which interval will be increasing and which interval will be decreasing. Okay, we're going to take a look more example.